Raw money. Money. Raw money.
Why do you care
Raw money.
if I did or not? I don't need to be sleeping. I don't want to sleep.
All over a puff. In a puff puff.
I just got here. Go away. What do you think? طب خلاص كل يوم تعمل حبة ليمون لغاية ما تخلص.
Kerbal space pro.
Video, and I figured I make a couple of, default limits your creativity. Sandbox would overwhelm you with too many components as shown in the campaign settings, and we have a bunch of Jab, Bill, and Bob, and we have the tracking science here. You don't have a payload or the capsule that you'll be putting in, and in our case that would be this at the bottom, which is called utility tab. Press it and you will see the Mark 16 parachute. So we select it and we place it on top of the capsule, and this is the most basic rocket that you can build. However, it's not yet complete. If you try to fly it, so just adding the rocket motor and the parachute, while necessary, you need an extra step. Okay, so we put it here. Jab is okay, and I'm gonna press the circle to turn on the stability assist. It means that the rocket goes where it should, and then we press the stage. And guess what happened? As you can see, the rocket did fire, but the chute also opened. And, well, that is one of the most common mistakes that you can do when you're starting out with KSP. We forgot to check your staging, and you will very often hear it happen. So I'm going to just now revert back to the vehicle assembly building. There is this tiny step that you need to check. So, this is a rocket as it was. Now, I'm pressing the triangle here to bring up this range.
One second. I'm trying to learn how to build rockets.
Oh, that's good.
So it's this. No. Wait, what kind of engine? It's fuel tanks. Wait, that's the normal fuel tank? can you go get me that thing, the sweet thing?
And I'm pressing up.
The sweet thing that we bought, Mom.
When?
On top of this thing.
When it says edit stages. So I confirm with the X, and you can see now in the right hand side we have the ability where it says 0 in the corner. We have two things. I'm moving in just here so you can see it. We have the engine icon for the rocket engine, and below we have the icon for the parachute, and as I move to them they're highlighted. However, this 0 means that they are both being fired at the same time when I press stage. So what I want to do is press left and click on this plus, so this will actually make them separate. So I will take the rocket, the order or the sequence of firing is going from the bottom to the top.
Okay. Nice.
So now everything should be correct. Press circle to exit the staging. So first the rocket engine fires and then the parachute will fire. Once again, pressing options, let's launch. Okay, once again, turning.
You good? No. This one. Is it this one? Yeah, it's this one, right? Yeah. Kinda, I'm similar. Yeah, this. Fuel tank. Fuel tank. Okay. Edit status.
So that we see the Kerbal face center. Pressing the SAS circle, it's very handy. I mean, it's not strictly necessary, but you want the stability when you have already the pilot. If it's not working, that means that you don't have the pilot in the seat, or that your unmanned probe doesn't support the stability assist function. Okay, enough with me yapping about. Let's stage. Pressing the X once, and now you can see the only thing that fired was the rocket engine itself. So that's pretty much it, how to build and launch a rocket. Now, as you can see, the best possible engine, that would be this Mark 1 command pod. So I just selected it with X, and I have decided to have it here. Okay, now the second part, what you want to add is the fuel tank, if you are using liquid fuel, or even more simple, the motor. The rocket engine that will be propelling this rocket above, high into the sky. So, since we're only starting with this, we're only having the RT5 Flea solid rocket booster, and that's why I'm telling you it's very simple and good that you start with science, because you're don't have hundreds of engines to choose from and trying to figure out what to use, what not to use. So, of course, everything that goes up must come down, and as you can see on the vertical speed indicator next to the dial top middle, you can see the small circle dial that is now around on 100 and it's just going down. So the icon to the left where it says 12,000 meters is your altitude, and now going down is actually the speed, vertical speed. And the surface speed you can also see in the nav ball. We are going around 100 meters per second, so I'm going to press the parachute before we get too high up the speed. So I press X, and there you go. I can even disable the stability assist, which will make us maybe nosedive or whatnot. However, if you want to do some science, you can do so now. Oops. Let's see. I'm zooming in with the left one and the right thumbstick. And then I want to do some science because that's what we came to do. So I press the left 3 button and I'll scroll in. I can go on the capsule, not the crew hatch. It's a square. And there on the list you can scroll down and you have crew report. And then that's the way you do science. 1-1 crew report, the shores look inviting and watch the wave roll into the coast. It's 3.5 science. It's not a lot. We want to keep the experiment, press the square again, and that means we have performed some science. This is really the basic of the basics. Oh, look at that. I'm going to press left 3 again. In case your craft is not responding to controls, because it could be you're in the cursor mode, which is indicated by the fact that you see the cursor. So press left 3 again, and as you press it, you can once again regain control of your vessel. So I will take the rocket engine and put it below, because the order or the sequence of firing is going from the bottom towards the top. So now everything should be correct. Press circle to exit the stage. So first the rocket engine fires and then the parachute fires. Once again, pressing options, let's launch. Okay, once again, turning a little bit so that we see the Kerbal Space Center. Pressing the SAS circle, it's very handy. I mean, it's not strictly necessary, but you want the stability when you have already the pilot. If it's not working, that means that you don't have the pilot in the seat, or that your unmanned probe doesn't support the stability assist function. Okay, enough with me yapping about. Let's stage. Pressing the X once, and now you can see the only thing that fired was the rocket engine itself. So that's pretty much it, how to build and launch a rocket. Now, as you can decrease it down, so the icon is too high up, so not the crew hatch. Press the, yeah, it's a square, and there on the list you can scroll down, and you have crew report. And then that's the way you do science. 1-1 crew report, the shores look inviting, and as you watch the waves roll into the coast. 3.5 science. It's not a lot. We want to keep the experiment. And that means we have performed some science. This is really the basic.
Oh my gosh. How did you hold it?
Again,
No, it's not open.
because maybe you're in the cursor mode, which is indicated by the fact that you see the cursor. So press left 3 again, and as you press it, you can once again regain control of your vessel. Right. So let us go into the acceleration mode because I don't want to wait until I fall down. Well, actually I could because
something else.
it's not that tricky. With a right thumbstick you can change the camera view, lock, 3, and auto. Yeah, auto I think it will do. And as we descend on the Kerbal Space Center, we have landed. So I'm gonna just see if I can tip over the rocket. I cannot apparently, but you can actually perform the EVA, which means that you can get your Kerbal to go out. If you scroll with once again left 3 to get to the arrow, and then press on the Kerbal's icon EVA. So the Kerbal goes out, and then what you want to do is once again press the circle once you hover over the Kerbal. No, that's not cool. Oops, wrong button. Doesn't matter. Let's go once again on the EVA. Sorry about that. So, climb out or board. So we can press the X for let go. Yeah, we will fall down and we won't be able to return, but we will do some much needed science. Some more science which you can get is, once again, pressing the left 3 icon, the cursor, hover over Kerbal, and pressing the square. And then you can take the surface sample, which will give you a total of 9 science, which is very handy, especially in the beginning, for the EVA report. And you can also plant a flag, which is something you will be doing a lot when you come to other planets. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Yeah, there we go. Site name, let's just call it first. And some of my comments are like R, S, and T. R2, perfect. You could put the flag text if you want to. I'm just going to accept it as it is. Accept it. And that's it. Right, so since we cannot climb back into the capsule, maybe actually we can. Oh, I've tipped it over. Watch this. This is fun. Now, let us go back into the capsule, walk to the door, press the square to grab, and then press the circle to board. Perfect. Now, we have gotten some science, and actually we can go and recover the space vessel. Or our capsule, call it whatever you want. So this is the simplest tutorial on how to build a rocket, and it's very, very simple. Just remember, you need to go up and you need to go down. So we have gotten 17 science. Let us press next, and we can use this science in our R&D. So 17.5 science, which is great. Let's press the left 3 so that I get the cursor. Okay, I cannot. So, for the 17 times, I can definitely research basic rocketry, which will give me liquid fuel tanks and engines, so it changes how you work a little bit with the game. And also, I'll take the bottom one, which will give me decouplers and some more sciencey things. So let's research that as well. So these are the basics, and let me just quickly show you.
انت بتبني صاروخ؟ اليوم من اليوم هتبقى مهندس جامد قوي. حمار. هتبقى حلوة بقى فخورة بيه.
And I'm gonna be pressing. I'm sorry, I'm used to this kind of set. Press L3, X, so I remove this, put it over here, and once again press X. And I'm gonna replace that with liquid fuel tank. It's under section fuel tanks. Pop it in, which is the swivel rocket engine. Oh, the swivel is the first. I was thinking that the Reliant was the first one. Okay. Well, as you can see, once again, it has messed up our staging. So we need to, once again, triangle, go up, edit staging. We increase, and then we put the rocket motor to be the first one to fire. exit the staging. And also, if you want a little bit more stability, especially at launch, you could go under aerodynamics and then press here to add the fins if you need to.
Oh.
You don't need them because the swivel engine at this point will be doing things for you. However, if you choose to, let me just see if I can, okay, this is the rotate. How do I edit symmetry? Is it like this? And then toggle overlays, change symmetry to radial 3. Yes, I think that will be good enough. So that will give us...
Wait a second. Now I know how to do it. 1 second.
فظيع ولا مرة. حيد خرب بيتك. خرب بيتك يا مرة. خرب بيتك.
Also, if you want a little bit more stability, especially at launch, you could go under aerodynamics and then press here to add the fins. You don't need them because the swivel engine at this point will be doing things for you. However, if you choose to, let me just see if I can, okay, this is the rotate. How do I edit? Is it like this? And then toggle overlays, change symmetry to radial 3. Yes, I think that will be good enough. So that will give us 3 fins around our rocket, as you can see. Probably it will also
So that's how you do it.
jeopardize jab segment. Now, the science part that we got the too hot thermometer, as you can see. That's one more experiment that you can add. So I decide I'm going to put it here on the bit more sciencey things to do. And it's also triple symmetry at the moment, so we will have 3 of them, as you can see. I might actually not want to do that because that would impede the jabs exit. So once again, menu, edits, change symmetry, radial 2 should be there. So we get 2, 1 on each side, as you can see. 1 here and 1 there. Perfect. Now, let's just go for the launch. The difference...
No way. I just never knew how to do that. Yes, so that's how you do it, I guess. Once.
Show you between the initial one, which was the solid rocket booster or SRB, and the liquid fuel engine, is that on the liquid fuel engine you can actually regulate the throttle. So you can choose how much of the throttle you can, and you do that by pressing down, like the directional pad down for the minimum, and up for the full throttle. And if you want to regulate it, then you hold the left one button and then increase the throttle up or down. To show you what I mean, I've set the throttle to 0 and I have pressed the stage. Whew, look, nothing happens. So, however, if I press up, we're once again going full speed. If I press down, we turn off the engine. And if I press left one and gradually increase, you can see our thrust increasing more and more. Because that would impede the jab segment. So once again, menu, edits, change symmetry, radial 2.
Starts normal.
Yeah.
We get 2, 1 on each side, as you can see. 1 here and 1 there. Perfect. Now, let's just go for the launch. The difference, what I wanted to show you, between the initial one, which was the solid rocket booster or SRB, and the liquid fuel engine, is that on the liquid fuel engine you can actually regulate the throttle. So you can choose how much of the throttle you can, and you do that by pressing down, like the directional pad down for the minimum, and up for the full throttle. And if you want to regulate it, then you hold the left one button and then increase the throttle up or down. To show you what I mean, I've set the throttle to 0 and I have pressed the stage. Look, nothing happens. So, however, if I press up, we're once again going full speed. If I press down, we turn off the engine. And if I press left one and gradually increase, you can see our thrust increasing more and more. Also, this engine is a swivel one, so meaning it can turn left, right, whatnot. Now I had only this little bit of fuel, so I wasn't able to show you. Okay, let me just show you how to also perform the science experiment. I'm just pointing my rocket nose down. It doesn't really matter that much. Left one and right thumbstick in or up to increase. Sorry a little bit for the too detailed descriptions of what I'm doing. Okay, let's press X for staging. So we do stage the parachute. And we are gonna be descending down. So while we are in the air, I do want to perform the thermometer reading. So square on that, and we say log the temperature, please. Keep the experiment, and as you can see, the parachute fired nicely. That means we will be, let's just angle it a little bit. I do want to tilt it over. Normally you don't want to do that, but we landed on the engine and it fell apart. Perfect. Now we want to perform another experiment here where log temperature, so we have 2 times measured the temperature. Temperature readings are quite literally normal. Keep the experiment and let's see if we can get them not overly confident.
Yeah.
deviate. Oh, we could. Perfect. Let's see if, actually let's board and let's see if we can make instead the crew report from here. Mark 1 command pod, scroll down, yes we can. Crew report, 1.5 size. This is our space center, we are home. Perfect. Once again, EVA, let go, come on, let go. There we go, and let's see if we can perform some more science. Jet, once again the EVA report, sorry, not the more. Module blue. EVA report. Report from the KSC. The first time we flew on the other side, so it was a different biome. And you will notice that you can actually take different measurements from different biomes. Right. Let's go back, grab, board, and let's recover the vessel. 3. Recover the vessel, and guys, this is actually the main differences between and also a simple guide how to create and launch rockets. I will be, let me know, smash that like button if you like what you're seeing here, if you like these tutorials, and I will be making some more advanced ones in terms of what is staging, how it works, and how to get into space and onward. But for now, thank you very much for watching. This is Groundworks signing off.
Played World of Tanks yet? You're wasting your life. Because in World of Tanks, you can shoot on the move, shoot on the spot, shoot in the sky, run over pumpkins, destroy private property, park where you want, blow up turrets, ram enemies, drown enemies, fall on enemies, and admire the sunset. In a world of tanks, tanks rule!
Hey, Marcus Housewitty here. Today we are building the Kerbal International Space Station. We're going to take a few launch to do this, and also we are going to make all of this reusable. Everything is coming back to Kerbal, not one piece is going to be lost. This section here is the first part of our space station, the long arrays. Obviously we have 2 massive boosters strapped to the side of this thing. These are going to decouple and we're going to return both of these home. Well, if I can land the damn things, we'll return them home. So because there is so much to cover here, I'm going to launch this thing right now. Let's get this thing cooking. So because of the size of these vessels and because of the delicacy of the parts involved, we're actually going to launch straight up here for a while. Our gravity turn here is not going to be overly efficient. This is because we don't want to lose all of the very unprotected solar arrays there on the top of this thing and the bottom. So yes, we're not going to do the gravity turn too hard here. Saying that, as soon as we get above 30 kilometres, we can really bank it over and just thrust horizontal flat out, because the atmosphere can't really damage our solar rays too easily up here. So I am aiming here for a near perfect circularized orbit at 100 kilometres above the surface of Kerbal. So just slowly burning here just as we approach the apoapsis, just to gently circularize this as we come up to it. You can see here that I'm also trying to just adjust that inclination difference, just pointing slightly downwards here. That's just going to help zero that inclination out. You can see in the top left panel there, Kerbal Engineer basically telling us what our inclination readout is. It is a great mod. For those of you that don't use Kerbal Engineer, certainly recommend that one. It's extremely useful just to have all the numbers that you want attached there up in the top panel. Now we do need to be slightly careful with our fuel usage, because we want to bring these boosters back and land them back at the Kerbal Space Center or very close to it. So we need just a little bit of fuel to help us in our return. There's no heat shields on these things, so yes, we need to just be a little careful here. Just need a few more puffs of the engine just to circularize this. You can see there you want to get your last little burn just as you hit your time to apoapsis approaching 0. So there we go there. We're in a nice orbit here now. So I've just time warped there around to the dark side of Kerbal, and this is so that we can actually get our booster ready to come back and land at the Kerbal Space Center. We're just going to do the first one first. We're going to manually detach it, and yes, we're just going to pump all the fuel into the bottom. Now, thinking back, I probably should have actually set the fuel drain to do this for me, but live and learn, just manually transferring this fuel here now so that all of the weight is pushed to the bottom of the rocket. And that's because the large wings there are going to push that centre of lift way up the rocket, way further than I really want to. We don't want to flip over backwards as we're actually coming in a retrograde direction. So a very small retrograde burn there just to drop ourselves down into the atmosphere, and you can see there I was using the trajectories mod, giving me that red crosshair there to give us a good estimate of where I'm going to end up after I pass through the atmosphere. So as with all of my craft files, you can find these vessels that I'm launching today in the description, along with all the other craft files that I do for my episodes. So yes, feel free to have a fly. You can even improve it. I'd love to see improvements to my vessels. It's always nice to see. So blasting through the atmosphere here now. This is the toasty part of our re-entry. Just using the engines here just to slow ourselves enough to stop our engines from exploding. There is a big bunch of air brakes on all of the vessels today, so you can pop them out when you just need to decelerate just a little faster. You can only really use them though after you pass down below around 1400 metres per second, otherwise they just explode on you. So yep, this is looking pretty good. It looks like I'm going to come down quite close. Just going to overshoot it a little bit. Might need to give it just a quick burst here from the engines after I drop these parachutes. You can see there that those delta wings are giving me quite a bit of lift. It actually started climbing there for a second. Almost slow enough to drop the main chute, and there we go there. So come on, down, 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 down. Alright, that's pretty good. So yes, we need to land it pretty much exactly vertical, because these things aren't the most stable thing to land. There's not a lot of room to wobble with this thing. Oh man, this is coming down pretty fast. I should have set the chutes to open higher. Come on, come on. Touchdown. That was a little harder than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, put some more parachutes on if you want to land this thing easier. So you can see there, she's a little wobbly. We just need to recover this thing, and we can now see that we have got, what have we got, 98% the value of our vessel return, because we were so close there to the launch pad. So yep, that is awesome. That being said, you could get back even more value if you rolled out a refueler and refueled it out there before recovery, because fuel in Kerbal Space Program is ridiculously expensive, much more than that in real life. Anyway, what we'll do is head back to our main space station part, and we're going to detach that second booster, and we're going to now return that one as well. So I've had a few people ask me lately if I think that SpaceX will be able to return the second stage from orbit at some point in time. And yeah, look, it's a pretty difficult thing to do, and that's because, of course, the first stage that can currently come down on land, of course, is moving much, much slower in terms of its velocity, and even it has to do quite substantial re-entry burns just so that they don't burn up the engines on the first stage. Now, the problem with the second stage is that it is moving around 5 to 6 times faster than the first stage was. So yes, the kinetic energy is many multiples of this, again around 20 to 30 times the kinetic energy to slow down. So coming in engine first will just rip the entire thing apart. The only way I think they could probably do it is by adding some sort of heat shield and possibly coming in the opposite way. Although that being said, it's pretty difficult to do that because all the mass is at the bottom of the vessel, unless they can somehow figure out how to transfer the fuel weight up to the top of the vessel so that it is much more top heavy. But of course, if you add a big heat shield, you then reduce the amount of payload that you can get to orbit, and that all becomes very counterproductive. So let's just hope that they can nail the fairing recovery soon. That's going to be another big cost saving again. In Kerbal Space Program, of course, this is not a problem because nothing is scaled the same as the real world. So yes, we can re-enter with basically anything we want, and yes, with just a little trial and error we can land these things. Let's see how we go here. Just a little further away this time, and touchdown, yes, Pearl. Oh, crap. Don't blow up, don't blow up. Yep, that was pretty lucky, so we can recover that for a full refund as well, even though I kind of failed badly there. You know what they say, any landing you can walk away from is a good landing, especially in Kerbal Space Program. So yes, we've recovered 97 point something or other % of that vehicle as well. So let's get our next part here underway. This is the main bulky technical part of our space station. We are going to do this entire thing in just these 2 launches. This is also a little delicate, so we've got to be a little careful with this as well. It is a little difficult at this point to visualise how these 2 things go together, so yes, you'll see here shortly how these things fit, but it's modelled quite closely to the setup of the space station. It's obviously using Kerbal Space Program stock parts, so yes, it's not going to be a 100% scale accurate model of the real International Space Station, but you know, I've got some of the modules arranged in the same sort of way, so yep. I'll be using here a very similar gravity turn to what I did in the first one. That's because there are still a lot of small parts that are going to bust up and cause us all sorts of grief if we hit that atmosphere too hard. So nice and high, and then we'll do that gravity turn really aggressively as we pass through the main thick part of the atmosphere. Now we have Bob and Kimlin Kerman on board here to test out our space station when we get it all together. But what I didn't show prior launch is that I very, very carefully set up the timing for this launch so that we're going to intersect with our space station part 1 just as we come up here to hit the apoapsis mark. So we have just a little over a minute coasting to do here, so we can just sit back, relax and de-stress knowing that the most stressful part of our launch process is now over. Yes, well, that's not true, of course, because the most stressful part of this mission is going to be actually trying to make this intercept. Now I just want to spot the actual target. Whereabouts is it? Where is it? It's gone. Ah, yes, if you're ever missing your target marker, hit F4, because quite often you've hidden it by mistake, like I have. Now, we want to turn retrograde and do a target retrograde burn as we're getting closer, and we want to try to push that anti-target marker in towards the retrograde marker, just so that we're coming straight at the vessel. You can see here what I'm doing is burning downwards from the retrograde marker, just to bring those 2 markers together, the pink anti-target marker there. There we go, and we can keep on readjusting this as we come in, meaning that we don't need to keep doing small corrections to get in all the way. Just small burns here, and oh, there we go. I obviously just got into orbit, so I'm coming in to wipe off that relative velocity. Of course, as you get closer, you don't want to come directly at it, otherwise if you do overshoot it a little, you are just going to smash straight into it. So yes, I'm not too concerned about keeping them together as I get real close on the approach here. Alright, there we go. All we need to do now is undock this little sucker, and we'll get... Okay, so to dock this thing together, we are going to control from our large docking port, and with part 2 of our space station, we're going to set the target to the large docking port on part 1 using docking port alignment indicator and using all the controls available to me. We can bring this in gently now to smoothly and simply dock it together. And yes, using those fine controls, using the caps lock there so that all of your controls are marked in blue in the bottom left is very handy, because it means we don't keep wobbling around and shooting off one direction or another. It's very important that we are exactly orientated correctly as well, so we have the little upside down T there in docking port alignment indicator showing us that our rotation is near perfect. And there we go, docked there. Our space station is together, and we can now head back and land our final booster. Now, at this time, the Kerbal Space Center is actually on the dark side of Kerbin, so what we're going to do is just time warp until the Kerbal Space Center comes out from hiding there into the light, because, yes, I hate doing landings in the dark so you can't see anything, and yes, there's no reason at all why we can't leave this thing in orbit for just a little longer. There's the Kerbal Space Center base there, and yes, I do highly advise that you just drop a little craft outside the Kerbal Space Center just so that you can easily pinpoint it on the map without having to manually try to find it. It's good to just give it a little base label so that you always know where it is. So there we go, the Kerbals at the Kerbal Space Center have now had their morning coffee. They are wide awake and prepared for any dangers that might head their way. I can't imagine what they might be, but we'll just start doing our slight retrograde burn here. And we'll just burn slowly until Space Center. Now, if anybody is interested in the particle effects,
Yeah, after I build a rocket in this right now.
That is called Re-entry Particle Effect, and all of the other mods that I have installed here are
Yeah, I want to play
description as
Fortnite.
well. So just dropping below 2,300 meters per second here, and you see as we get close
Let me
to
play this.
the coast there towards the Kerbal Space Center, we'll be down around 2,000 meters per second. And this is then a good time to start using our engines to start braking. So our booster here still has quite a lot of fuel in it, more than enough to help us with our descent. And as we get quite close to the Kerbal Space Center, we can give those engines a quick burst just to control that descent, so that we're going to land quite close to the runway here. Again, we can bring out
Kerbal
those
Space
air brakes
Program.
just to help our descent, and you'll drop the parachutes. The parachutes are actually probably almost redundant there because I was hammering towards the Space Center at such a low altitude. But yes, they were almost pointless. Anyway, touchdown there. So we can recover that vessel, and yes, again, we will end up getting back around 97, 98% the value of the vessel. So, yep, that's awesome.
What is that?
So, yes,
Yo,
we'll
what up?
head back up to the space station here now and start to play around with it. I'll be
Oh, I need to find the. Wait, what engine takes?
Just come over to play. I want to play. I want to play.
No, I'm gonna pause 1 second. I'm looking for a damn engine that actually takes my engines.
Come on, just leave it, please.
Alright, 1 second, 1 second.
Bigger towns, bigger battle, 5 team of 25 for the victory royale. What? New game mode? Fuck.
Yeah, they have a new
Did they
game.
added the jetpack?
I think so. I really don't know.
Team of 20 coming soon.
Are you really that tired?
You need to play with me.
Okay, I will.
No, don't. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye.
No, don't.
باي باي قولوا ليتر كمان ساعة ولا حاجة
Alright, wait, bro, 1 second.
قولوا كمان ساعة خلص المشروع اللي أنا بعمله وأكلمكم.
Shishko.
What?
What's Shishko?
What's...
شيشكو يعني إيه؟
Oh, no.
لحمة.
لحمة؟ بيتكلم عربي الولد ده يا مرة.
Alright, well. Alright, I'm gonna make this go in...
بيتكلم عربي.
I don't...
اسمه إيه؟
So... Kerbal, I'm gonna launch this into outer space and join Fortnite. What? He doesn't. Yeah, Mom, you already met him.
No.
It's,
اسمك ايه؟
oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. No, Ajubi die. I don't want him to die.
كلمه عربي يا مارك عشان لا ما تنساش.
He doesn't know.
هو بيعرف اول ما قعد قال مين.
No.
ايوه. قول له انت منين؟ مارك. خلص خالص هو سمعني.
Okay, I'm getting on Fortnite.